Architectural Review Board. I will call roll with each commission member answering present. Ellis Chenault.
Present.
Barbara Kelly.
Present.
Lynn Schubert.
Present.
Bill Stone. I'm Jacob Woods, the board chair, and we have a quorum present. Dr. Swope is the city's preservation specialist. Thank you to everyone who's attending today. Our involvement in this commission's proceeding is vital to the effectiveness of this process. There is a copy of the agenda out front if you'd like one. Historic district designation means your neighborhoods have been recognized by the United States government, the state of Alabama, and the city of Decatur as being architecturally or historically significant to our community. Historic districts are not created to prevent changes, but rather to ensure that the proposed changes are appropriate to the individual property and the districts as a whole. The board's responsibility is to review the appropriateness of all proposed changes. Each historic resource within the districts is assessed on its own individual merits, which is appropriate for one property may not be appropriate for another based on resource age, location, neighboring properties, and stylistic details. The Architecture Review Board's rulings are based on written standards and regulations that guide our review and decision-making. These guidelines and the Commission's decisions have the force of city ordinance. You can access our guidelines along with application forms on the city's website. Our hearing process is as follows. Staff will present the applications. When they read your name and property address, please be prepared to come to the podium. Staff will present the application and staff assessment of each request. When staff is finished presenting the application item, the applicant and/or designated representative will then state their name and address and provide any additional information or comments regarding that application item. The board may ask clarifying questions of the applicant at this time. Next, we will hear any public comments on that particular application item only. After public comment has closed, the chair will entertain a motion and the board will discuss and dispense of that application item. Staff will then proceed to the next application item and so forth. An approved certificate of appropriateness, or COA, will be issued in the form of an email that CC's both the applicant and the building department approximately 1 week after this hearing. The document will outline and reaffirm what was approved and that the project has been approved. A COA must be issued before a building permit can be obtained. If any changes to your project are anticipated after the COA is issued, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to contact staff, and she will help guide you in some cases. You may be required to submit the changes for review and issuance of a new COA. If your project is denied and you are not issued a COA, you will be issued a letter stating the reason for denial and additional information. Denied COAs will be sent via certified mail to the property owner's address filed with the Morgan County Revenue Commissioner's office. You may submit an application with revised plans at a future meeting. There is an appeal process for denied COAs as well, which is spelled out in the municipal ordinance under section 1825 and 1892. After all applications are heard, the commission will entertain general comments from the public limited to 3 minutes per an individual. First item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes from November 9th, 2023. We did not have a meeting in December. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is expedited COAs since October.
We had 426 Sherman Street, which was a new roof, 716 Ferry, new roof, 651 Jackson, new roof, 814 Gordon, that was a change in a prior approved COA. That's one where it was going to be a fully sided addition and they moved it to a screen porch. So the footprint stayed the same, the elevation stayed the same, but instead of windows it was screening. and 1040 Sherman, which was a new roof. Next, we have election of chair and vice chair. Jacob?
And currently, I'm finishing up my first year, maximum 2-year terms for each seat. I've heard that I've been nominated for chair again, and I will accept.
Second.
Well, we need someone to officially
So somebody would
nominate.
have to motion that I
I
can
move that
continue.
Jacob continue as chairman of the HBC.
Already got a second from me.
So he seconded before I
Yeah.
made the motion.
Okay,
Okay.
now we have discussion, which means does anybody else want to be the lucky receiver of this position instead?
Move it to a vote.
Okay,
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
okay. And then we have to go through the entire thing for vice chair now.
Do
So,
we have a nomination? Would you like to continue, Allison?
I have made that acceptance, yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion that Ellis will keep the vice chair position.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jake, don't get sick.
All those opposed? I'll try my best. Okay.
so we are moving the agenda order tonight. Mr. Herford is not here yet. We're gonna have the second COA first. That is 809 Line Street, northeast. That is the addition onto an existing house. This is the location. It's a double lot. So the prior house was removed by previous owners. The property, whoops, I'm reading Hereford's, excuse me, I'm on the wrong one. It is still a double lot. It's a full COA for an addition to the house, was approved by the ARB in June of 2022. And the action that is requested, and you can see the additions going on right there. And this is the Church Street side of it. So the action that's being requested is the original plans called for a different type of door than what was installed. And so here you have on the left what was approved. Now what they are requesting at this point is this one here because that is what was ordered. And this just comes under new construction for design review standards. It should be compatible with existing building in terms of material, style, color, roof, forms, massing, proportion, and spacing of doors, windows, details, surface texture, and location. For staff findings on this, the change from a 3-light design that was approved to 6 lights is a fairly minor change. It's within the design details that are found within Craftsman within this time period. The front porch on the original house, because I had been asked about that. I don't know if I've got a picture. I do, but it's later in here. This front porch is a different design than what was approved because the commission wanted to ensure that it's clear that the addition is new. And so the proposed change in door still meets that request, so that has not changed. And the reason this has come in front of the commission is because there had been a series with this particular house. The porch roofs went on with metal, which was not approved, and so there was a stop work order issued at the request of the commission. We have addressed that. Then they had questions over the brick and the size of brick and type of brick, and we've been working through the applicants with that. And so I had been requested to bring the applicant back in for a discussion on this project, just so that everything would run smoothly. So that is why this one is here. So Jacob, I will let you take it, see if you have questions, if you want to move it directly into a vote on this one, or if you want to have additional conversation with the contractor.
I think, for me, I don't particularly have a issue with the 3-light or the 6-light. I think that both of those fit with the style of the house. I think for me, what I want to do is try to realize that we have an approved materials list, and I don't want it to just change randomly. So, I mean, if you want to change it to a different style, that might work, that's fine, but I'd like to get that approved before you do it. So if the 3-light was approved in the original material list, just say, hey, we want to go to a 6, run that by us before you make the change. what happens on the inside, that's up to you, but the outside has a set list that we've approved, and changes I'd like to run by everybody, and that's just my feeling. If anybody else has any other comments on that?
I think the problem is the hyperlink on the list, and I clicked on the hyperlink that Caitlin had put in that form, and then that door came up, so I didn't notice the three, so that was my fault. Because those were like up the Palermo doors, that was what up, and we just ordered them. And I know y'all were, these projects of this size, moving fast, and that's just my inexperience in doing that, so I directed Greg to just order that door. So thank y'all
Okay.
for considering it, and
I move we approve.
Do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Okay, we are good to go on the door.
is there anything else that y'all are concerned about while we're
Yeah,
here?
anything else? Any other questions for them, since we've
Not at
got
the
them
moment,
both
I just,
here?
you've got your list there, so as you go through that list, just make sure you're kind of hitting that, because that's kind of what we based our COA on.
Okay, we found the heavy scratch.
We
mark,
did find the brick,
so we're good.
Okay,
so we got that worked out with Acme. We did find
Okay.
a heavy scratch brick.
okay.
And
Okay.
y'all worked out the roof thing, that Greg with the metal roof, that he just chose that, and that was the architect, when she did the pitch, the metal roof was, he came to me and said, the shingle roof will leak. And so I just said, oh gosh, and so he suggested that, and I was just like, well, of course I wanna do the thing that's not gonna leak on the house, so I apologize for that too. And I don't know if y'all can, in your review guidelines, if there's any room to consider that, what people are gonna do with these low pitch roofs. Cause on my house, if you go to the existing 809 Line Street, my little front porch has got water problems, where that pitch is off, and Greg's got to have to figure that out too, but anyway, that's just.
And we're gonna change it back, they're gonna put shingles on it.
Okay,
I just don't like to have the issues of down the road leaking. I mean, that's just on me, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I do a lot of repair work besides new work, and those type of pitch roofs with shingles on it, they're gonna leak. And I called, checked with the manufacturer of those shingles, and they're down to a 9.5 degree pitch. 2 and 12 is like 9.4, so, the guy that I talked to in their technical area said, you're at the very bottom of what we would warranty. It is probably going to leak quicker than it should, but, I try to do anything that we're not gonna have problems down the road. I have a pretty good history in this town, and worked over 40 years,
Sure.
and I just try to make sure when I do something, I do it the best can be done. And that's why I went to her on that, because I knew with shingles on it, it will be.
okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Herford is not here yet, so why don't we move to updating the approval matrix for COAs? These are minor changes. The second page, the section that's highlighted, I had to go back in the ordinance because I clicked it and remembered something was slightly different than when this was put together. So the ordinance, the language is they're void unless construction is commenced within 6 months of the date of issuance. And then they're issued for a period of 18 months and they are renewable. And during that time, it might be inspected for compliance. So that's when I want to change out what is highlighted here, because right here it says, they're valid for a year to initiate work, but that's not, we need to be in line with what the ordinance has on that. So that was a change.
The ordinance is 6 months?
I believe the ordinance said 6. I'll go back and double check it before I finalize it, but essentially what I want is approval to make sure that what we have in there lines up with the ordinance. Yes?
What this says is work should be completed within 18 months. Is that within 18 months of the issuance of the COA or the work being started?
The ordinance doesn't clarify, so I think giving them the greater, at this point, since we're not looking at changing that portion of the ordinance, giving them more flexibility, especially since it seems like every time we get contractors, it takes them a while once they get moving.
Yeah, I just, I don't have a problem either way, I just,
I
Yeah,
think we need
Needs
to
to
be
be
more
clear.
specific, to be clear. So that somebody doesn't come up and say, well, it just says 18 months, so depending on.
well,
what-
if the ordinance isn't clear, we're gonna have to give them the longer period.
Okay, well, I mean, and that's fine.
and that's fine,
yeah.
yeah.
But why can we
Okay.
give them a longer period here? Or should be complete within 18 months of the initiation of work rather than from the
Okay.
issuance of the COA?
Well, it says that the COA is valid to initiate the work within 6 months, right? So if you tack on 18 months to the end of the 6 months, I mean, because you have technically 6
Right.
months to start it. So I would definitely say the 18-month is starting the work, not from the issuance of the
I
COA.
just think.
That's the way I would read it, just because,
I think we need to be clear,
yeah.
Okay.
because I'm sure Ruth and I can decide that we could read it another way. Depending on who's paying us,
Oh,
You
right?
could probably read it 5 different ways based on my conversations
So
with
I just want
Ruth.
to say, be clear.
Yes,
And
okay.
that way there's no option.
And I will have, before this goes in, I will have Ruth take a gander at it too,
Okay.
just because it's an ordinance-related
Okay.
thing. On the next page, it's minor things. We had, repair or replacement of existing accessory structures. This just repair, because if you're replacing at that point, it's new construction, so I pulled that language out. Number 5, alteration of, it should say non-historic accessory structures with no expansion in footprint. And then number 6 is alterations to historic, so it breaks out the difference between the two. Let's see, the next page doesn't have anything, the next 2 pages don't have anything on it. It's that final page, it's installation or removal of window or door shutters. We didn't have shutters specifically called out. I probably could technically put them under a design detail, but I would prefer if it was more clear in this document than having to go under that heading. So I just added this one in. That was one that was not in the original document.
And the other one, I think you responded to my question on 69, most changes.
Yes.
Again, why does the change I want fit in with most?
I'm not able to put a full list because it varies by each one. It's much like approving where a fence goes. It's going to depend on everything within that application. But if you can think of a legalese way to explain it that's less than a sentence, I'd be happy to change it. I was unable to come up with one,
I'm sure I can.
because each building is different, so each building is sort of the majority of the time I can, but occasionally there's one that's too complex and y'all need to get it. And with all of these, it's always in this that even ones that are fast-tracked, if for any reason I feel they need to go in front of the full commission, I can say, no, this one needs to revert to the full commission, which I do on occasion, especially for things that are more precedent-setting in nature.
Okay.
So, any questions on this then?
I guess it's the same if you said minor changes versus most
I know, well,
changes.
it's minor, it's major, yeah, you're right.
Because the way this thing's written, the minor work's approved by staff, major work's approved by the board. So if it's minor changes, does it fall into that?
Although we're still with most, because what people consider minor is not always what the board considers minor.
Well, I was going minor on what we're.
Yeah.
But
71, if it could be adjacent to any historic boundary, I mean, what about Prospect Drive? I don't know, how do you? just doesn't seem
Prospect
to-
Drive, I do not think is within the overlay. I'd have to pull the map.
Well, the edge of the park is.
The
though, so
park
it'd be
is.
across
The park
Oh.
is, but
the- Okay, the street
I
isn't.
don't believe the street is. I can pull the map, but I have to go back in the office to
Yeah.
do that.
You're probably right, the street itself probably isn't, I'm not
because I believe the park is the boundary on the southern end.
Is this something we need to vote on
Yes.
to get it in? Okay. Do I have a motion for the changes to the COA appropriateness and expedited review?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Good.
Let me see if I've heard from Mr. Herford. I don't believe so. Typically, we require an applicant to be here to approve a COA, although Mr. Herford has been in before. Ruth, Allen, do we have any guidance on this one with Mr. Herford?
I mean, if he's already submitted it, I mean, they can consider what's been submitted if he's not here.
Okay.
I mean, can you get a hold of him? Can you try to reach him? See, because he can even participate via phone if there's anything he needs to explain or.
Not Ruth, could they not present it, and then if they ask questions,
Sure.
they may have to call them back? But,
Sure.
I mean, if they-
Yeah.
That's
if
what I
they're
mean,
gonna
just see if
approve
he's,
it,
just see if he's available first
Yeah.
and then he.
I do not have him in my contact list. I can dig, but I'm not sure I've got his number readily available.
Okay, that's fine, if they wanna consider it, and then if they have questions, they can.
Yeah, well, let me go ahead then and present this one. So this is 504 Walnut Street. It is connected with 510 and 504 are sort of connected. So 504 is the house, 510 is the vacant lot. There used to be a house on this lot. When Mr. Herford acquired the property, it was in the middle of compliance, and this is what he acquired. Sort of that large U-shaped driveway. What he is proposing is to remove most of that driveway, to sod it over, to do either azaleas or gardenias along that driveway portion to screen it. The driveway would be an exposed aggregate. There is an existing curb cut there that would stay in place. The driveway would be approximately 7 feet off of the house and about 3 feet in front of that fence because there's existing landscaping in front of the fence. And then trees, he's looking at 1 and possibly 2 trees there. He's been talking with the Historic Decatur Association, has a tree planting program for the street trees, and that would be a place to put like a large oak or something to sort of fill that spot in along the street, because the median there is the little planting strip's about that wide, so it's not a good place to put shade trees, but because there's so much lawn there, they could really put a good sized shade tree there that would then cover the street.
Do we have any information on the alley, since we normally require rear access if possible?
We do. That alley, he has been concerned with access because the used car lot apparently likes to park their cars where they stick over in the alley. Coming in off of, let's see, would it be Kane Street on the other end? What's the other end?
Well, I
Well,
think that's well.
Is it Wells?
Between Well and where it ends up.
Yes, it's Well. So I've tried making that turn from Well because there is a masonry wall there is very uncomfortable. Because that wall is something that would not be approved now, but it has been there for a very long time, and trying to make that turn with that, it does make one pause. So it is a slightly unusual alley in terms of its moving through that alley. I drove down it once because I was curious to see what it was like. I'm surprised my car survived. So I think, yes, typically the alley is a request. Not all alleys in the city have the same level of passability.
The fence, the 6-foot fence that's parallel to the street, is that too far in front of the house? Am I making myself clear? Should it be
Yes.
back further?
It was not at a location that was approved by the HPC at the time. With fences in general, when they have to be replaced, a new fence requires a new COA anyway, so the discussion was when that fence, when it has reached the end of its life, it's going to have to go through the COA process again.
How did it get approved? I can't remember.
did
It
not.
wasn't.
Didn't get approved.
This is one of those unique circumstances where the inappropriate construction was passed on through owners. So the process was started with the previous owner, and Mr. Herford kind of inherited these problems. So I know he didn't actually put them in himself, and we're asking him to fix them. So I think he's come up with a way to kind of remove a lot of the inappropriate stuff that was installed. And I
it
think if
has
he's willing to work
been
with us.
It has been in front of the judge, the municipal judge, and he has asked you all to, and Caroline and the city, and to work with him to come to, so she basically sent it back to us to, before she made a decision. So, you know, she is wanting us to try to come to a resolution with him.
I guess I'll make a motion, given the difficulties in the alley, so that he can't do a rear parking pad. I make a motion that we approve what is here.
All in favor?
Any other discussion?
I
No,
have
it's your
another
discussion.
question.
Apologies.
The new driveway, it says it'd be about 27 feet long. Is that from the curb? And the real question is, is 27 feet to that 6-foot fence? Or would some of the fence need to be removed to extend that?
He shows on his drawing, he shows that mark starting at the sidewalk. So basically where the grass touches the sidewalk on the lawn side, and then it ends 3 feet from the fence, so there's a landscaping buffer in front of that fence still.
I think the only other change that could happen, I know the driveways that we've approved recently are ribbon driveways that have a little bit of that grass strip in the middle to kind of reduce the expanse of concrete on the drive. So I could see that as being something we might want to do here. The other thing is that there is a vacant lot there. There is a lot of green that can, I guess, buffer the driveway, even though it is a solid driveway. So I think both options could work in this location just because of that vacant lot beside the house. Anything?
Well, we have several, driveways that aren't ribbon we've approved, I think, the past 2 years. 2 on Gordon Drive, I think.
Yeah, the one on Gordon was just because of the unusual circumstances of not being able to park on that road.
Right,
And that's a
right,
tough
but
one.
they're not it
Yeah,
was not ribbon put back, so
I think that one had a vacant lot beside it too on Gordon.
Yeah.
it is on the vacant lot,
Yeah. Parking's on the lot, on the
just
vacant
like
lot.
this.
So, yeah, I mean, I think
A lot
that,
like
I
this.
think that extra lot with the green space really could allow for this. I think if there were a house right beside it, I'd want to see more of that green in the driveway and not a full concrete drive.
See, in the first block, there's one also that Caroline discovered. It was being put in as asphalt, and it got changed to aggregate.
So are we ready for a vote?
So,
All those in favor? All those opposed?
Okay.
City, I want to thank y'all for working with Mr. Hurd. It's been a long, arduous process, and I think it's good to get this behind us. So thank y'all.
That is everything that is on the agenda. Anyone have any questions?
I don't believe I have anything else. Anybody?
No.
Anybody else?
Move we adjourn.
Ready for happy hour? I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I like the screen turn around this way.